Hello. My name is Richard Dreyfuss, and welcome to Time for a Talk, the first in a series of national conversations on what I call an urgent problem in our nation's culture. The participating panelists are in Washington, D.C., New York, and San Diego, California. It is critical to mention that the members of the panel are the most respected and the most highly accredited people in their professions. And they are people who represent all colors of the political spectrum and most of the institutions that we have historically relied on to solve our problems. Most important, though, is that we all share a concern for where we are going, for a need to acknowledge what we share, and the unease about our future, which is a new and unwelcome sensation in our lives. Foundation, the structure of ethics and values we all must stand on as Americans, and from which we can disagree with one another to our heart's content. Foundation untaught allows for the unwillingness to share political space with those with whom we disagree. Foundation untaught, our values and ideas, they not only don't exist, they give license to the all too human characteristics of unlimited greed, the inability to know what is ethical restraint or responsibility or appropriate reward or accountability. Without foundation, good men wake up and do bad. It makes us anchorless. We lurch from position to position, out of control. More tempting marks for those who would take advantage. Education is not making us smarter. News is becoming more and more shallow. And politics is not considered a noble calling. Just about everyone thinks of politicians in general as inauthentic hucksters. All this matters only because America is the nation that declared war on a 13,000-year-old curse that all mankind lived under. You and yours will never rise. You are a serf, and your grandchildren will be serfs. My heel will always be on your neck. And that was the truth of the world until America said, wait, if you can get here, if you are tough enough to survive the journey and take what life throws at you, if you have brains and you have talent, you might, no guarantee, you might rise. That was and is the most important political message in history. And our kids don't know how unique and courageous it was because we don't teach it. Until America, the nations of the world didn't think the people were part of the story. We said the people were the story. The panelists invited here may agree or disagree with some of what I've already said, but they will agree that something is wrong in our society, and each of them has ideas of what these things are and how to solve them. We also want to hear from you, both here in the auditorium and online. You have your own opinions about what's right and wrong in America. And we're here to give you a chance to tell us. You might have heroes to talk about, or villains that you think should be held accountable. Your questions and comments will be added to our conversation during the next 2 hours and beyond. We are mandated by our Constitution to keep ultimate political power in the hands of the citizens of the Republic, through trust of our representatives, and through some connective responsibility by the various sectors of society, business, media, military, the churches, the family. all have agreed to a social compact that rests on shared known values, except that now we don't share values because no one teaches us what they are. We don't train our future rulers because we've removed those classes from almost all of our public schools, and we are no longer demanding common sense in our international relations, our domestic politics, and that common sense, so long identified as ours, has been replaced by a common senselessness and apathy and ignorance. The United States is a political miracle because it offers a revolutionary doctrine that the ruler and the ruled could be one. That's why people came here, and that's why they will always come here. But that's only if we teach our ideas and values to ourselves and not get so ignorant that when our pockets are picked, we don't know we have the right to protest. So, let's give it a shot to talk without advertising forcing us to talk faster and never finish a thought. To talk to our opponents as fellow Americans and not as the enemy. Let's prove in these 2 hours that we are emotionally mature enough for Republican democracy. Thanks.
For today's discussion is that civics is just not being taught in our classrooms. Where it is taught, it is not preparing our young people to take their place as members of our democracy, as leaders in our democracy, and as stewards of that democracy for future generations. This has led to a widespread decay in people's trust, not only of our media, but of our institutions that are our traditional helpmates. And that is really going to be the focus of today's discussion. The first hour is going to focus primarily on the scope of the crisis, and the second hour will be looking at ideas and actual activities that are already being done around the country, trying to lead us back from the brink. And again, we urge everyone in our online audience to provide your stories, your questions, and your comments. They will be incorporated as we go. Our panelists include, here in Washington, a former Colorado governor and former LA school superintendent, Roy Romer, Wall Street Journal commentator and editor, John Fund, and the president of Common Cause, Bob Edgar. Diane Ravitch, a long-time innovator and commentator in education, is joining us remotely from New York City. And then in San Diego, in addition to Richard Dreyfuss, we have Rick Shankman, who's with Vote IQ, and former Admiral Bruce Boland, and pollster Frank Luntz. So we're looking forward to a lively and insightful discussion. And to lead things off, I turn it over to Bob Edgar.
Thank you. I want to begin by thanking Richard Dreyfuss for bringing us together on this day, the day commemorating Dr. Martin Luther King's leadership. I met Dr. Martin Luther King in February of 1968, just 5 weeks before he was assassinated. And less than 10 years later, as a young member of Congress, I served on the Select Committee on Assassinations, looking into the death of Dr. King. So I've become somewhat of a disciple of Dr. King and his commitment to civic education, leadership, and advocacy on the part of the least among us in our society. Listen to the words of Dr. King. He said, "When evil men and women plot, good men and women plan. When evil men and women burn and bomb, good men and women must build and bind. When evil men and women shout ugly words of hatred, good men and women commit themselves to the glories of love. Where evil men and women would seek to perpetuate an unjust status quo, good men and women must seek to bring into being a real order of justice." As we gather here today to discuss civic culture and civic education, we would be wise to listen to Dr. King and to other persons in our history who constantly remind us that when we take money away from education and when we take classes like civic education out of our school systems, we are all diminished as a people. Franklin Roosevelt, in his inaugural address, said, "The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little." In my lifetime, we've moved from Brown versus Board of Education to our current time when we've done away with segregation, but we're still segregated financially. Our schools are still off target. We spend much more on our defense than we do on our public education, and our society is hurt because of it. I'm president of a group called Common Cause. We're a citizens lobby, a bipartisan group trying to bring together Democrats and Republicans, independents and liberals and conservatives to work for the common good, for the common cause. That's very difficult. Our founder, John Gardner, was a moderate Republican. Listen to some of the words of John Gardner. He said, "We don't even know what skills may be needed in the years ahead. That is why we must train our young people in the fundamental fields of knowledge and equip them to understand and cope with change. That is why we must give them critical qualities of mind and durable qualities of character that will serve them in circumstances we cannot now predict." We are committed as an organization to work collaboratively across party lines to make sure we infuse our public schools with enough resources so that we can teach in this broader context. When I speak to secular audiences and religious audience, I'm really a Forrest Gump of religion and politics. I'm a United Methodist preacher as well as a former member of Congress. I get the audience to chant, "We are the leaders we have been waiting for." I've served in Congress. I know a little bit about the Senate, a little bit about the White House. If we're going to solve this problem of civic education, if we're going to change the culture in which we live, if we're going to equip our young people, equip them for the future, average, ordinary citizens are going to need to stand up, speak out, be more aggressive, be more focused, and bring more attention to this issue. I would argue that when 9/11 occurred, we got concerned about our security, and we started to spend money on defense. But the nation that we live in, bordered by the Atlantic and Pacific, is hurt more by our lack of commitment to public education, health care, environment, and quality of life. That's what makes our nation strong. And we need to prepare our young people to be about that task. I've got more to say. Obviously, in 3 minutes you can't say it all. But it is time for us to unload our guns and reload our minds, to invest in public education and civic culture. It's time for us to banish hate speech and hate from our hearts. And it's time to learn to love one another and our neighbors, even when our neighbors are elected officials and may be part of the other party. And always we must remember that we are the leaders we've been waiting for. It's time for us to act if we're going to rebuild the civic culture in our society.